Okay, so the next shape that we're going to be speaking about is squares, and squares will inherit all the properties that we've talked about so far. So they will have all of the properties of parallelograms. They will have all of the properties of rhombus. This is rectangle, and they will have all the properties of rhombus. So they share every single property that we've discussed so far. And the reason for that is because squares are all of those shapes, right? So if you have a square, then that square will actually be a parallelogram. As strange as that sounds, as long as it has all of those properties, that makes it a parallelogram, right? So it's a four-sided figure with all five of these properties. That means it's automatically a parallelogram. And not only is it a parallelogram, it's also a rectangle. It's just a special kind of rectangle that has extra properties beyond what a rectangle has. And similarly, it's also a rhombus with extra properties. Okay, so anyway, let's get into the problems here. So we know that AD is 11, so that means all four sides are 11. So it's inheriting that property from rhombuses. So we can start filling these in. Right away, BC is 11, AC, we don't know yet, BD, we don't know yet, and then EC, we don't know yet. So now we want to find the diagonals. So there's two ways to do this, but the first way, and perhaps the easiest way, is to look at this and to realize that we have a right triangle. And the right triangle has sides of length 11 and x. So we can set up the x squared is 11 squared plus 11 squared. So we go to the calculator. We do 11 squared plus 11 squared. Okay, and then we square root the answer. So we get 15.6. 15.6. So that's the length of the diagonal, and then if I divide that by 2, I will get the length of the half of the diagonal. So that will be 7.8. Okay, so we have 7.8 for each half of that diagonal. Now we could start to fill in some values here. So first of all, AC, that's the total length of the diagonal, that's 15.6. Remember, the diagonals are both equal to each other. BD, also 15.6. EC, well, that would be 7.8, right? So now we have to look at the angles. And the angles are actually the easiest part here because we know the middle angles are all 90 because that's the rule for rhombus. And we know that when we have a rectangle, we have these base angles being equal. So these would have to be 45, right? So everywhere we see 45, 45, and 90 for this shape, which is the square. Okay. So let's look at which ones they want us to report. So angle DAB, so DAB, that's 90. Angle AEB, AEB, that's 90. CBD, C to B to D, that's 45. And BAC, BAC is 45 as well. Okay. So in the next problem, we have PQRS is a square and TR equals 17. So right away, if TR is 17, then all four of those diagonal segments, there will be 17 as well. Now we can figure out, actually by looking at this, we can figure out the length of x here. So it would just be 17 squared, and 17 squared is equal to x squared. So we go to the calculator, 17 squared plus 17 squared. So x squared is 578, which means if we take a square root, we get 24 for x. So we have x equaling 24. That will be the same number all around the outside. So let's start filling these in. So PR is 17 plus 17, that's 34. QS, same thing. QT is 17. PQ is 24. And now for the angles, we know they're all 45 or 90. So let's just see which one. So PRS. PRS has to be 45 because that's a half angle. STR. STR, that's 90. PSR is 90. QPR, so QPR is 45. Okay, so now we have this shape, which is a rhombus, and we want to find MP. So we would set these equal, right? Remembering that opposite sides are congruent for any parallelogram, including rhombus. So we get 6x, we add 77, that gives 84, right? And so to get to 60, we need 10, and then 4 more for 24. So 16 and 24 is 84, right? So we get this, we plug this back in here. So we have 3 times 14 plus 7, so that's 30, and 12 is 42, plus 7 is 49. So all sides have to be 49 since it's a rhombus. So MP would also be 49. If STUV is a square with SW equaling that, WU equaling that, find VT. All right. So what we know is that these actually would have to be equal. So let's set them equal. Subtract 2x, add 41. That will be 54. Divide. We'll find x equals 9. All right. So now it's your turn to try numbers 9 and 11.